All right, so today we're going to talk about central tendency and how to decide which measure of central tendency you use when. Okay? Which one do we pick would be best? Now our choices are, we could pick mode to report the measure of central tendency. We could pick mean to report the measure of central tendency, or we could pick median. I'm going to start with median. Median is when all the data are not similar. The numbers are all over the place, and especially when there are outliers. And right away you should be thinking, well, gosh, I wonder what an outlier is. An outlier is data that is much higher or lower than other data in the same set. And there is a mathematical way to calculate outliers, but for today, as long as you know if you have a number that's a lot bigger or a lot smaller than the other numbers, then you're going to want to pick median as your measure of central tendency. We're going to come up to mean next. You would pick mean as your measure of central tendency when there are no outliers. So the data is all pretty similar to itself. Data is similar. The reason being, we know how you find mean is you add up all the numbers and then you divide by how many people are in the room. An example of why we don't use mean if there are outliers, most people in this room are between the ages of 13 and 15. If we added my age into that list and then found the average, our class average would make you all considerably older, right? It would look like our class average had 18-year-olds in there. And so we don't want to use the mean or the average if there's a piece of data that is a long ways away from all the others. It will skew the mean either up or down so that it's no longer accurate. If you do have a piece of data that's very different than the rest, either very high or very low, then your best choice is median, the middle of the data. And finally, mode. When do we use mode? You use mode when the data is not numbers. For instance, if I had you all vote on what your favorite blue jeans are, right? Some of you might say American Eagle, some of you might say Lucky, some of you might say Miss Me, some of you might say Levi's. So if I did a graph about blue jeans and your favorite topics, we might put up here Miss Me, right? Whoop. We might put American Eagle, maybe Levi's, and we would tally the number of votes, right? But when we're talking about a measure of central tendency, we would have to use the mode. Which one of these occurs most often? And what would that be? Levi. Do you see how it wouldn't make sense to find the median between Miss Me, American Eagle, and Levi's, right? And it wouldn't make sense to find an average of Miss Me, American Eagle, or Levi's. But it does make sense to talk about the mode. Which one people prefer most? You see this a lot when you're taking pizza orders for a large crowd. Have you ever had to tally up if you want pepperoni or ham and pineapple or hamburger or meat lovers? Well, in that case, you would use mode to find out what the most popular option is or what the option that occurs most often. So when the data is not numbers, when it's things like blue jeans or pizza, and you're talking about which one is the most popular choice, that's when you would use mode. So we have three choices for measures of central tendency. Mode, when the data is not numbers. Mean, when there are no outliers. All the data is similar. And median, when all the data are not similar, and there probably are outliers. So that's how you're going to know how to answer questions 4, 5, and 6 in your worksheet today. Because you have to pick based on the example. Should you choose mode, should you choose mean, or should you choose median as your measure of central tendency?